Yeah.
Oh, it's not in there.
Yeah. Whenever we did our dry runs, we would.
Hello, hello
Right, the food used to be there, but this room is a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Lengthwise.
Yeah, it's always hard to get students, there's a student like right now.
Yeah, very true.
The chairs are locked in.
And,
Oh, yeah.
Are you gonna ask them?
I can give you.
She knows a lot about this guy.
We got it.
She's gone out training up with me.
Let's go.
Yeah, I know,
It's
yeah.
not something I should know.
You know what, I'm curious.
I've done before, I've done before.
You'll take the first one.
And she's very usually wrong.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what y'all do, because I looked at this road and I was like.
After time specs, I hope not. Because that's what we did.
Yeah.
There he is.
The man of the hour.
My advice for you running is don't screw up.
Oh.
I'll wait.
I talk about.
You can wait till after next Saturday. Hey, I wouldn't do that, wouldn't do it in public, but. Where's the,
You can say.
But this is a.
who's got the forms?
I got it.
Oh, okay.
This would have to be a sidekick.
Thank you.
You need a pencil.
It's too small to be its own project.
Y'all can sit down, you don't have to like stand in the back like you're second class witness.
Just sit down so the next, do you need a pencil?
No, thanks.
Yeah, he did, and I hope I got it ready for you.
Honestly, you did a great job.
Dude, it was, oh, really? Oh,
I have
man.
something for you that I don't wanna, I can't like. put
It took
on
me
the slide. Just not big deal.
a good while to get it cleaned up.
I just wanna show what your schedule was this week. Okay. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I was supposed to say, make sure you put it not flash it out.
You write your name.
I mean, I've gotta be here for my, from 11 to 12:30, I've got, well, I set up times for all my teams. Status now. I'm expecting to have.
You can leave me
I
hanging.
just did it this weekend, that sounds really.
You know they got
I actually talk to each one of you, otherwise you're gonna make it really hard.
Make sure you get the notifications every week.
Or turn off your phone.
I hope I turned off everything.
You press the power button and it's the volume button at the same time. Just press that. Here.
Sir?
Oh, you're.
And you're almost there.
Click this, so.
I bet there was a time you thought that wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah. I think,
What is the date like Saturday?
What? So it's the, let's see, the first is Monday, right? So Saturday's the 6th, no, 5th. No.
no repeat questions.
No repeat questions.
No repeat questions.
Sixth, yeah. We gotta be at 10 o'clock on the 6th. Don't screw that one up.
We got a date at 10 o'clock?
Well, three of you, all the faculty, and their families, right? No, is it the commencement?
Oh, the ring
That's right, we
circle?
drive the wrong,
December 11th.
or the 11th, yeah.
It should be that Thursday.
Well, the 11th is, I'm sorry, the 11th and the 13th.
No,
Yeah,
you
sorry,
cannot.
yeah.
The graduation.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
You don't want to, you don't want to speak after graduation. You don't want like some stupid ass thing in your, your parents will be really disappointed.
The walk.
Are you not walking? You should walk.
You wanna just pass them all? Whoever's coming, okay. If we run out, we got the.
You're gonna be like,
That's up to you.
University one.
That's up
I'm
to
gonna
you.
feel it, man. I feel the nerves kicking. I'll tell you one.
that he's gonna do an introduction first.
That's what I did.
You're good. Everyone in the room's rooting for you.
I like those shaking espressos.
Dr. Kids, you know when they're gonna replace that photo in the bookstore by chance?
Which one?
Oh, there's like all of y'all.
Yeah, the four of us, that
Yeah.
10-year-old photo by,
What's
In the
what's
lab
that
or
photo?
the?
in the bookstore. It's
Oh,
like
yeah, I can't.
lost.
That's over in the far corner.
You're like famous.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah, Caleb got the short straw though, he got the full billboard on the side of the highway.
So.
Well, you almost got displaced by the rocket team. They're all over the place too. Yeah, you're gonna have to donate several tens of thousands of dollars to the university to get that done.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on the royalty check for the photo in the bookstore.
Yeah. What's that,
I know, I shouldn't have signed that.
so what's the thing
That's
that
my
that
mother's
is
ex.
something in likeness, image, what is that?
What is it?
Something image and likeness.
NIL.
NIL, yeah, there's no NIL for engineering students, sorry,
Dang it.
doesn't count.
It was in the fine print of something you signed.
Yeah.
I know, I remember a forum where people were like, yeah, they can use your photo, and I thought, great, they're gonna
Yeah.
put me in a pamphlet or something. No, worse, in the bookstore.
Hey, the good thing is that's in the corner though.
Yeah, it's not like out in
I
the
see
display
it.
window or something.
It's just from your complaining that you really like it.
Yeah, just plastered everywhere.
Your headshot was by the office for a while.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
I think it's fantastic though. I could go another 15 at least.
Yeah, I'm gonna get this gray beard, it's still gonna be up there.
You have a great beard in 15 years.
Probably. Have you seen my father?
That's cool. The reason I went back to
What's up, Will?
It's a textile party. It's a textile party.
Well, they put our name
I
on
ran all
it.
the calculations. I ran all the. There's a full and, I'm
Just
also
starts
having
bouncing
a
away.
shot, so. I just drink it because you hit it another, yeah.
Oh, I forgot about mine.
You don't need a power to
Should probably find mine.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing to lose.
I think we're ready to start. Welcome everybody. My name is Dr. Aldo Piñon, and I had had the privilege of being the Capstone professor for the civil engineering for this semester. You will see that either myself or Miss Olivia will pass this form. This is for the practitioners and friends of the team that is presented, and we evaluate them on their oral presentation skills, and the levels are 1, the lowest, and 4, the highest. We cannot put 2.5, 3.5. Anyway, the name of the team is SJT Roads Engineering. And first, I'd like to thank our clients, which are the City of San Angelo Engineering Services, Luis Lozano and Seferino Mendoza, for providing the opportunity to work on this project, which is going to be built hopefully in the next several years. They are going to be working, they were working on widening the it's a difficult name, Riverside Golf Course Road between 29th and 33rd Street, right at the north of the city. They worked tirelessly for hundreds of hours. They had to do a widening and a full reconstruction of all the pavement. So I'll leave you to SJT Roads Engineering to explain their design. Thank you for coming.
Hello, we are SJT Roads. We are presenting Riverside Golf Club Road, and we are doing a road widening project. I am Susan Aronde. I am project lead and lead of Geotech.
My name is John Francis. I'm the lead for transportation.
Howdy, I'm Remington Peters, leader of hydrology.
I am Ty Pressler, leader of environmental and construction.
So with our general scope, we were hired on by Luis Lozano from City of San Angelo, COSA, to do a full depth reconstruction on the roadway of Riverside Golf Club Road. At the beginning of the roadway on the north side, it has already been reconstructed. It is currently at 37 feet width, and right now the roadway that we are currently working on is at 20 feet. So we're going to be widening it to the roadway, and as well we will be adding bike lanes and sidewalks to our roadway. And as well, we will be focusing on the soil, the erosion, and also as well, there's a culvert there that we determined whether will need to be redesigned or extended, and that will be presented throughout the slides. And as well, we will provide a construction timeline and a overall project cost. The general scope requirements, some of the issues that is currently happening is there is alligator cracking. Alligator cracking is just where it's a cracking surface on the roadway to where it prevents people from being able to drive on the roadway. A lot of people do have the tires popping currently, so we want to prevent that from happening in the future. We want to provide a roadway that will be safe and no one has to worry about wear and tear on their vehicle. As well, it does have restricted access to the residential area, or the residential park, the baseball field, and as well to the gas station Kent Quick. So we will be making sure that we have a safe roadway for everyone to use, whether they are on a bike, walking, or on 4 wheels. This here is our site location. This star right over here is Angelo State University. We'll be going slightly north of San Angelo, and we have Riverside Golf Club Road right here. Our original project scope was in this red, but however, since we wanted to put in a bike lane and sidewalk, we extended our project scope to be including this green right over here, so we can make sure that we have the roadway, the whole roadway having a bike lane and sidewalk. As you can see here, we have our Kent Quick. A lot of people go down US 87, and truckers go towards like the back end over here to be able to access the truck stop and do anything that they would need to do. And as well, on Google Maps or Apple Maps, whenever you're trying to go to Kirby Park, it actually redirects you throughout this roadway. So we would like to provide a safe driving surface throughout the whole roadway, and also as well allow people from bikes and walking to be able to have a safe travel all the way down to Kirby Park. And down here is our recreational area that is owned by City of San Angelo.
So with the hope that this project, that we want to increase the love of the community between the north and south side of San Angelo, as well as bring together more attention to the sports complex. 'Cause I don't know about y'all, but I like me some baseball, so seeing that increase would be pretty nice. As well as create a safe and reliable design that will hopefully improve the conditions and reduce wear and tear on the community's vehicles.
For the economic factors, widening the road will have an impact economically for drivers who use this road as a shorter route to commute to and from their destination. Reconstruction of the road is likely to bring more of the community out to the recreational fields as well as Riverside Golf Course. And the truck stop, nearby businesses and restaurants should all expect to prosper economically as well.
So for the social factors, the whole goal for this project and for the whole city is we want to connect the entire town. And if you are like me, you live on the north side of town, you're kind of disconnected from really the rest of the city. And with the improvement at 33rd Street, it allowed the residential community on the east side of USA 7 to have a safe location to cross USA 7 instead of having to go down to 29th Street or even more south. So the whole goal is to connect the north side to more parts of the city. And also to, there is future plans that when the sports complex is completed, that there's gonna be a pedestrian bridge that's going to be built to connect the sports complex to Kirby Park. So we'll be able to get people off of 29th Street to get to the park and other parts of town. As we move forward, we're going to go to the transportation overview of the project. So the goal was to match to the existing north side of the project, which is at 37 feet wide, and it also has curb and gutter. This is to the city standard of SF1, which is the rural connector street cross-section. And we also evaluated the use for sidewalks, crosswalks, and bike lanes. We are adding new striping to the roadway and also signage, which is lacking on this roadway. And we're gonna show you a detailed layout and a proposed cross-section of this project. So the existing conditions of the roadway, here we are right here in this area in red. We are in the northern section of the project. This has already been reconstructed. This is on the back side of the convenience store, and we're looking south. So you can see we're at 37 feet wide, and we have the use of curb and gutter, and also some riprap with a culvert that did get extended about 2 years ago. You can see that this is to the specs of the COSA SF1, which is a rural connector street. On the southern part of the project, this is right behind Mueller's in this area. You can see that we have on this alligator cracking that Susan had mentioned. And the reason why it's called alligator cracking is because it gives the sense of, it looks like scales on an alligator. And you can see that we got some patching, and you can see the edge of pavement here is beginning to deteriorate because there is no true driveway in these areas. It's just get off the road and you're entering the parking lot for the complex. And this is that parking lot right here that we're looking at right here. And there is a southern parking lot that we will address here in a little bit. But this is the typical section right now. It's at approximately 20 feet wide, with a crown in the middle at a 2% slope. each lane. So you can tell that there is no striping on this roadway, but each side of the roadway, there is approximately 10 feet of lane width for the traveling public. And according to our bore samples that we will talk about later, it's approximately 1.5 inches of HMA, 10 inches of crushed limestone base, and also 8 to 10 inches of a subgrade material. Sorry.
And for design standards, we'll be following through with KOSHA specs and also as well TxDOT specs, specifications. For City of San Angelo, we'll be using rural collector street, curb and gutter, concrete driveway approaches, and this will be later on in our, we'll go more into depth in the transportation, and as well for the TxDOT standards, we'll be using pedestrian facility curb ramps, pavement markings, bike lane and pavement markings, small roadside signs, and delineator and object markers. As well, we will be using the ASU guide for design of pavement structures, which we do know as the Green Book. For our ESAL, the equivalent single axis load, well, from the statewide planning map in 2023, it was shown that it has 1,483 of annual average daily traffic, AADT. But however, since there is a lot more traffic due to the gas station and as well construction, we did calculate our AADT to be about 1,500. We did have to assume later on these values, the truck proportion, the directional distribution, and number of axles with the equivalency factor. Because it doesn't state on the statewide planning map, but however, we did compare with other rural connector roads to find the best assumption for these calculations to find our ESAL being 1.3 million. From that, we were able to get our values from here in our resilient modulus we calculated from the geotech side. The soil is a sandy clay, so the sandy clay is more that we have found about 15 KSI, so we were able to use this chart right over here to be able to find our structural number of 2.8, which we have determined will be able to suit the S-F-1 specification from KOSA.
All right, so this is the proposed cross-section of the newly constructed roadway. We're gonna go with a 37-foot wide widening, which would give each side of the crown 17.5 feet, which would give us 12 feet for the driving lane, and we'll have room for a bike lane. Our crown section with a 2% slope. We are following the same layers for an SF1 per Cursa, and we're also going to add a prime coat to help with that ceiling there. And here is a detail of that cross section layer. As we start in the north, so this is 33rd Street. We're looking at east and west right here. This is already constructed. The only thing that we're adding is the proper striping for the two-way traffic, the bike lanes, and the crosswalks. And then also we are beginning to add our 5-foot sidewalk that would connect to the intersection here at US 87 and 33rd Street. As we make a left-hand turn, we are going now down southbound as we go down Riverside Golf Club Road. We are now on the east side of the roadway with our sidewalk. We are all connected by our curb ramps as we go through our driveways. You can see here that we still continue our bike lanes. And we have the use of some signage here. This is a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit sign. This is, as we continue going south, this is where, right now, our 37-foot width ends and our transition into the, existing pavement. This is the, last driveway into the convenience store. And you can see that we still continue our sidewalk and we cross over and then we get to the, west side of the roadway. And the reasoning to have the sidewalk on the west side is because we want to connect the traveling public to the sports complex, which later will then connect the pedestrians to the park and so on down Edmond and 29th Street. So as you can see, we have a transition here of 255 foot. So I came up with this number by using our transition equation for our traffic control. So according to 30 miles an hour with a 17-foot offset, we have a transition to our widening of 255 foot. The reasoning to shift traffic to the west side of the roadway is because we didn't want to affect the drainage hydraulics on the east side ditch of the road here. So we did a transition to get the traffic to the west side of the roadway, and you can see how our sidewalk is continuing. Our bike lanes are continuing as we continue to connect the public to the area. As we get to our parking lot here, like I had mentioned before, there were no true driveway entrances. So we ended up coming up with, on these two ends, we have an entrance only on the north side, and we have an exit only on the north side. And this was based off of looking at old striping layout within the parking lot, which we had to go a ways back on the Google Earth to see these. But we do have existing driveways on the west side. This is to the back gate to the Mueller Steel buildings. Driveway 2 is to the back gate to what used to be the old Percival Steel now, which is the WF AFCO steel warehouse for their painting. These are not currently in use for on these gates. It does say, do not use these gates, but come to this specific side. But we knew that we wanted to reconstruct these driveways just because we were redoing the roadway. As we continue going south, you see the use of the sidewalk up until the last driveway, and I'm going to explain that more. So we have it. So we have the sidewalk ending here instead of having it continue through. It's because there's no future plans for the city to add sidewalk to 29th Street east of the bridge there. Everything is after the bridge going west in front of Kirby Park. So, and then of course, we wanted to connect those that are gonna be using the sidewalk to get to the sports complex, which would later be a connection to Kirby Park. We do have a transition here to 32 feet. At this area, we do stop our 37 feet and we go 250 feet south to a transition to 32 feet. And this is just because we are eliminating the use of the sidewalk, but we're still giving the 12-foot lanes plus a 4-foot bike lane width to connect that. As we continue going south, you see we're almost to 29th Street. We do have a culvert here. You can see here that we will talk later, this is a 13-foot extension. And this yellow object here is a berm that we will talk next about, but you can see how we have to transition back to 37 feet wide to connect to 29th Street, which is under construction currently. As we talk more about this berm, you can see here in the blown up map that we have two entrances into this southern parking lot. These are unauthorized access points, or they have been made by the public over the year. This is looking at them south. We have one that goes to the east side of the building here, and then we have a longer one that connects to Riverside Golf Club Road. And according to the according to the spatial limits of access points, it's too close to the major intersection. And so the goal, instead of trying to block it at the roadway, we are gonna have spoils from our roadway, and the goal is to build a 150-foot berm that will have a dual purpose with blocking the traveling public in the area and also helping with drainage. This is a cross-section view of the project. The right side of the screen is the northernmost section of the project. This is where we're tying into the 37-foot area. This area is where approximately our culvert is, and this is where we are connecting at 29th Street intersection. You can see that we have a downstream slope on the way to the culvert, and then after the culvert down to 29th Street where that water then channels into curb and gutter that will make its way to the river there. But our main elevation differences from where we are connecting to the culvert, we're looking at approximately just under over 1,100 feet and approximately just under 4 feet in elevation. And then from the culvert, it does kind of stay level, but it does drain down to our intersection, and we have about 300 feet. We go down in elevation to 4.5 feet. These are our striping standards that we are using from the Texas Department of Transportation for our typical markings to our yield signs to our crosswalk and our bike lanes. These are the standards that we will be using.
For our geotech side, our general scope is we got bore samples from SKG Engineering. We got 3 bore samples, and we were to identify the soil that was that we were given from the bore sample, and also as well do an analysis on the PI and anything that will be relevant for our roadway. Make sure that it is able to hold or withstand the roadway as it is, or whether we need to bring in a new base or sub base. So down here is our bore map. This we were able to get it from our proposed roadway that we will be widening. On bore sample number 1, we did get a liquid limit of 23 and a plasticity index of 15. Bore sample 2, we got a liquid limit of 39 and a plasticity index of 27. And bore 3, which is going to be matching with our existing roadway, will be a liquid limit of 34 and a plasticity index of 23. From our bore logs analysis from SKG, there was no groundwater present, but however, this could be changed because of any climate and weather that is during the construction, so a new bore sample will be recommended for future construction. The variance of the soil was expected to be high. As we can see over here, our plastic limit was 11, our liquid limit was 32, and our plasticity index was 22. and our average percentage of clay was 60.1. Now, from that, we were able to determine that our soil was a sandy clay, which does have, like, from before, a plasticity index of 22, which does go over the recommended amount, which is a 20 plasticity index. So from this, we did also as well look at going with emulsion, fly ash, and also as well a lime concrete stabilization. But however, we did determine that according with the COSA item, the 260, that it would be better to do a lime stabilization since it would be able to bring down our PI lower than the 20. So we do recommend removing the top 6 inches of the soil and replacing the subgrade and base completely with new soil. We do recommend in our next slide the soil that we'll be using, and as well we do for testing of the soil that it does have a plus or minus 2 of a 14 moisture content, so it'll be able to withstand the roadway with all the thicknesses that we have of the new roadway according to S-F-1, and as well the soil will not be compacted until ready. We will be using a type A grade limestone subgrade, and this will be performed with testing with a sieve percent retained sieve, and also as well determine that it is able to have a liquid limit less than 40 and a plasticity index around 14 plus or minus 2, and as well that it does meet the minimum 95% with our standard proctor that we'll be using with our general testing and the density testing of make sure that it does have a density testing of 2,000 square feet for the whole roadway, and also as well that we'll be using the density test accordance to the ASTM D698-42.
So moving to the hydraulic side of things, my scope overview was that I needed to evaluate the existing drainage patterns and identify roadway and offsite flooding issues, as well as delineate the drainage areas and estimate my peak stormwater flows, analyze the performance of the existing southbound culvert, and design proposed culvert and design and stormwater drains to support the roadway widening and grading, as well as incorporate erosion environmental considerations, and develop a solution for flooding at the nearby shot that's receiving runoff from the southbound culvert. So with the help of Dr. Pignon and ArcGIS Pro, and with the 1 meter spatial resolution digital elevation model provided by COSA, and running that through the geospatial toolbox, I was able to get my fill sinks, my flow direction, my accumulation, my stream nodes, and then my watershed definition. So in result, we have about 7 subcatchments of varying sizes, as well as a total area of the catchments of 112 acres. And here you can see my final polygon of that entire thing. The red represents the outlining areas, and the blue represents the longest flow path. And as you can see, the water starts from Lake Drive, goes through this entire residential area, and it comes back down to our project site. And catchments 1, 2, and 3 feed into the northbound culvert, and catchments 4 and 5 feed into the southbound culvert. And yes, I have looked into it. The work that we plan to do for the rest of the road widening will not affect any of the northbound culvert, and also the catchments 4 and 5 will not be changing as well as a result. And since the total catchment areas were less than 200 acres, and using the peak runoff equation, Q equals CIA, which is flow equals to my runoff coefficients, my intensity, and my areas, I was able to use the rational method to find my 100-year storm, 50-year, and 2-year return periods. Using those, I was able to make these hydrographs of flow over time of concentration, and because I'm designing mostly for the 50-year, I'll mostly be focusing on this Q equals 40 cubic feet per second, and the time of concentration for every single one of them was 36 minutes. Using those and Civil 3D Hydro Express, I was able to run this simulation model of the 50-year culvert, and as you can see, there we go. Since we are a foot below the shoulder of the culvert, that we do meet the COSA standards that we need to avoid a full depth reconstruction. And so I'd like to propose a 13-foot extension onto the culvert to match our existing road widening. Using that simulation model, I did find that the downstream velocities for the 2 and 50 year do not meet the other COSA standards of 3 feet per second. However, I would still like to propose this extension because economically, it is far superior, as well as easier to design and easier to implement on the actual construction of the project. And also, the current upstream depth does not constitute a flooding risk at the 50 or 100-year flows. And the first thing I would like to propose for the remedial options for the nearby shop is I would like to propose 23 cubic yards of this riprap to help slow down the water, as well as, I don't know if you can see it, this little blue thing. This is why I like to propose a storm drain inlet. Using TxDOT standards, and this is the front view of it, this is the side view, I would like to propose a 4x4 drop grate that will, and a 30-inch diameter pipe. And since the drop grade is about 4 feet from the top of the pipe, it will go down to the 1853 elevation mark. With a slope of 1.2% and a length of 580 feet, it will go down to the 1846 elevation mark. And then from there, the water will just spit out into this channel that will take it all the way down to the Concha River. Here you can see that from the stormwater design studio that I was able to design this, and the dotted line represents the energy grade line, the blue line represents the hydraulic grade line. Here are my equations for them, and using the sewer flow efficiency equation, I was able to find the pipe had a 91.5% efficiency, which I deem adequate. Here is some extra modeling that we hope to see out there.
Moving on to the environmental side of the project. The scope was to evaluate the environmental impacts that during the construction phase and mitigate any possible pollutants with the assistance of a stormwater pollution prevention plan. And within that plan, come up or devise best management practices to mitigate or minimize any pollution, and also to adhere to regulating agencies such as the City of San Angelo, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, as well as Environmental Protection Agency. The required permits for the environmental side were to complete a SW3P, document the pollutants and through a best management practice, acquire the TCEQ's construction general permit. This is for activities over 1 acre, and complete a City of San Angelo development application, as well as an EPA's stormwater permit. So on the far left over here, we have our pollutant point source and the pollutants generated by these sources, and the listed BMPs that are proposed to be implemented throughout the project. Our largest pollutant will be sediment from the culvert extension, as well as excavation from the road, and dust that we will implement sprinkling water trucks to minimize that. For the BMPs on this project, the stone riprap is a erosion control device used to dissipate water velocities, as well as keep water sources from going downstream. We will be using temporary sediment control fencing around the construction site, as well as fiber rolls, another erosion control device. Continuing with the BMPs, we do propose block sodding. It's an erosion control device, also can be used for stabilization. We propose to use block sodding on both sides of the culvert extension to provide some stabilization there. We will also have concrete washout station and a spill kit on the project site for possible pollutant cleanup. Shown here, this is the most southern end of Riverside Golf Club Road, next to the intersection of 29th Street. We have one entry, one exit with our construction material storage. This is our concrete washout station with our stone riprap here. And in the adjacent parking lot is our sanitary portable toilets with our silt fencing and fiber roll. Continuing on to the construction, the scope overview was to determine permitting for the project, outline a timeline project, estimate cost, and ultimately come up with a estimated total cost of the project. The permitting required for construction is the construction permit required by the city of San Angelo, general construction permit, a notice of intent, Clean Air Act by EPA, and stormwater pollution prevention plan.
So to get this all started, we need to begin to figure out our work zone in the area and the traffic control around the work zone. So to do this, we don't have a lot of real estate in this area to do a phase out where we can continue traffic to go through. So we are proposing to close off the roadway with a type 3 barricade. This is at the last driveway to the convenience store before we go into the area that we are widening. Everybody will be warned as they get onto 33rd Street and also 87 with some general work zone lead-in signs, but once they get on 33rd, they are met with a message board that will give a warning of what is happening, but they're also met with these road close signs at 500 and 1,000 feet. We did not want to close this off because this is one of the main access points for our larger truck traffic, because they come in here, especially this access point, and they can go right into the diesel tanks right here. And of course, we didn't want to close off anything on 33rd because we need our gas station convenience store to still have as much access points to this location. Plus, over here in this area, we do have our Riverside Golf Club Road. And if they are going to exit on the west side of the convenience store, they are met with road close signs with an arrow and a detour. And this is our layout of the gas stations, our gas pumps, our convenience store, and our diesel pumps. And this is a more of a detail map right here, so you can see 87 northbound, southbound, our entrances in here, our gas station, our Vapid gas station access points, along with Huddle House. And then on 29th Street, we also have to close off here at the main entrance right here so that we can continue our widening in this area. We will have a road close set up with our type 3 barricades, and of course we have our lead-ins on 29th Street going westbound, and then we have our lead-ins going westbound. Plus, we also have our message boards that will give advance warning to the traveling public, and if anyone who is going eastbound and they do want to turn down Riverside Golf Club Road, they will have detour signage that will show them that they need to get to 87th Street, and they can access there at 33rd. So this is our affected area here on 29th Street. This will not affect any of the traffic from the one side of the road to the other because of AFW, they do go across this roadway frequently so they can get material from one side of the road to the other. This traffic control will not affect them. And then plus we do have, our San Angelo, auto shop plus, our radio tower right here, as you see here in this corner. We will not affect their access, for they have, an access point here and an access point here that both, this access point is shared by both the tower maintenance and also the body shop. And then, in accordance to, our standards, we will be using, the work zone road closure standards and details along with, our BC sheets. These are just, our main 4, but we will, implement, sheets 1 through 16.
So for this semester, the construction team broke the construction timeline down into 3 phases, with phase 1 being more planning, review the client's needs versus requirements, as well as evaluating the actual scope of work and starting to create a rough material list. Moving into phase 2, we start with mobilization and road closure and establish our BMPs on the project site. In phase 3, we excavate the existing roadway, extend the box culvert, pave, striping, and leading to the cleanup of the project site and rescheduling of the road opening. The material pricing here was gained from TxDOT bid item page. The product is listed with its corresponding bid item number, the unit price, and an estimated quantity of each product. Continuing with the material pricing, this is the rest of the material, and ultimately we expect this project to come in at an estimated just shy of $1.2 million. So in conclusion, the team has developed a design that incorporates several key improvements, including the widening of Riverside Golf Club Road, the culvert extension, the addition of a bike lane and sidewalk, and has addressed existing drainage stormwater concerns. The team also anticipates that the proposed construction will enhance community connectivity and improve traffic flow. At this time, we'd like to thank the City of San Angelo, as well as Dr. Pignon and other faculty for the opportunity in this project and for a valuable learning experience. Thank you all. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of questions.
From start to end, assuming no unexpected delays, how long would the project take? Just
So,
ballpark.
Our estimated projection of the project from start to finish is 6 months.
Okay.
I got a question. As far as the collector standards go, I saw that y'all picked the rural standard. Was there any thought, like, why didn't y'all use the urban standard for that?
I can answer that. So we were able to get a sheet from SKG's standard of when they had engineered the roadway for the convenience store, and they used a San Angelo's rural collector SF1, and we wanted to continue that through the project.
Okay, so are y'all gonna use the stand-up curb instead of the lay-down curb that's on the rural standard?
I don't think it was laid down, or maybe it was.
Go back to it.
So we are going to use type 2 stand-up curb and maybe implement the lay-down curb in front of the driveways, which we see that throughout town. And so it's probably a mix of both, but for our main water flow, it would be the type 2 curb and gutter.
You mentioned the outlet velocity for your culverts didn't match, they were too high. What could have been done to reduce those velocities?
Well, it's not, it's at, the, here, as you put it. So, the outlet velocities are just too slow, they're supposed to be 3 feet per second. So basically, the culvert was made back in the 50s, and they made that design extremely overkill by making it super flat. So it has like a slope of 1%, and then with that extension, it's gonna bring the slope down a little bit more, not by much. So when the water hits it, it slows down a lot, but the only way to really fix that is to do a full depth reconstruction.
I have a question. So you said that they're gonna scrape 6 inches of the top layer plus 6 inches of the subgrade? So it's total 12 inches, which was 6 inches in total.
The 6 inches in total, we're gonna be removing the base completely and we're gonna be reusing that, and then for the subgrade, what we'll be doing is just removing just the top 6. So it'd be the top 6, of just the of just the subgrade, or subgrade.
So in total, it's gonna be the pavement plus the base plus the subgrade, so we're looking at approximately 17 inches of material that we are removing and replacing.
And related to that, I know there's a short section, is this, so there's not a lot of cut and fill balance, is this net cut or net fill?
It's, so there really wasn't, I would say that the cut and fill, really, evened out, because we are doing, so we're not changing the grade, so there wasn't a lot.
So the grade of the existing roads is adequate?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir,
But you got a lot wider road,
correct.
so did you calculate the quantities or not?
Yes, we did calculate, the quantities for the widening area,
So is it net fill then?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay. And so my question, if it's net fill, and you've got all this, how do you plan to reuse the base, the existing base and existing pavement that you're removing?
So the only areas that we're going to, use, any spoils is for the burn. Everything else will be taken off location, or if the city of San Angelo wants to create a stockpile within the sports complex to use for other things. But we didn't deem that, we would reuse the material into the mix design.
So my question related to that is, so you marginally exceed the plasticity design limits, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're proposing to do a lime treatment for the top 6 inches of the subgrade, right?
No, sir, that would be on the bottom 4 of the subgrade. So it's a 10-inch subgrade. We're gonna be removing the top 6, putting in a new one, but however, we will be doing the lime stabilization for the last 4 of the subgrade.
That's remaining.
So you're doing that in place?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Okay. So my question is, did you look at just amending the existing subgrade with these higher quality materials and just using that rather than coming in to do a lime stabilized base since you have those other materials around?
We did, so, at the beginning, we were going to do.
Because the plasticity,
reclamation.
I mean, it's not gonna take a lot to reduce it into,
Right.
right?
So we were going to use what was there, reclaim it, and when we brought that to the attention of the city, they just suggested that we might as well just put in new material if we're gonna, and so, but that was our first, cause we did have a lot of material, we didn't see that it was that our failure of the roadway wasn't to the point that we couldn't use the material, so we were going to try and stabilize it either with asphalt or with lime. And when we talked about that with the city, they were more just give us new material and see where you can use the spoils elsewhere in the project.
Right.
So John, I think you mentioned that there's no plans to put sidewalks on 29th Street.
Correct.
Are there currently bike lanes there?
No,
Okay.
not right now.
So how did you think through the decision to add bike lanes to your project?
So, I debated if I was going to stop on the bike lanes at the same, location.
Well, I mean, just have them at all.
Have them at all?
Yeah.
Well, for one, I knew that, there's been a lot of projects pushed in the city that they've been adding bike lanes in the area. And, in the past year, as I live on the north side of San Angelo, so I see a lot of how the intersection at 33rd Street has really impacted those that can go from the east side of the roadway to the west side of the roadway, because they have an area. And it's more user-friendly for either vehicles or people that wanna walk. But once you got to the west side of 33rd Street, you had to then go south on the sidewalk that was parallel to USA 7. There really was no safe access point onto Riverside Golf Club Road. And so I knew I wanted to extend that friendly flow onto Riverside Road. Plus, I knew of the future plans to build a bridge that will go over the river to connect. And so, in my mind, I was like, well, let's go ahead and let's get this road ready for that, so that when that does happen and the funds are there, we can literally connect north side of San Angelo really to ASU, if you think about it, because like you can get down 29th Street, Edmond Street, from Kirby, go down Howard Street, which has sidewalks and bike lanes, and you can get all the way to Sherwood Way if you do this. And so, just giving the whole community an opportunity to get from one side of San Angelo to another without having to deal with a lot of heavy traffic. Plus with the work of the city and also TxDOT, we have improved the intersection at 29th Street. What's the one over there by Church's Chicken? Chick-fil-A. 14th Street? No, not 14th. 23rd Street. And then to, on your way to 7th Street over there by Central and McDonald's. And so really, I wanted to bring that, because 33rd Street is the last chance for the north side of San Angelo to really get across Bryant without having to be in a vehicle.
Okay.
And so that was the point, it was just, let's connect the city together.
So
Thank you.
related to that, I'm sorry.
I was saying thank you.
So related to that, so are there existing bike lanes on 33rd Street?
No,
Okay.
no, sir.
And is that just a striping you were proposing there, or an actual widening for the bike?
So
I
there
was confused
is,
about that.
okay, so there is, some striping that came into the area on 33rd, but
So is 33rd Street wide enough
yes,
to,
it's also at 37 feet wide.
okay.
Correct.
And then related to this, so you decided some places to put in sidewalks and a crossover and not do them on the other side, because right now they don't even, but back to your rationale for installing bike lanes and sidewalks in the first place, it's like, it's gonna be way less, it's gonna be way easier to do it now than it is to come back and retrofit, right? So
Correct.
why did you decide not to do continuous sidewalks on
On
both sides of the
20.
street for the entire length of, I mean, there's plenty of places, as you always point out, in San Angelo, where you got pedestrian traffic at some place, and all of a sudden, immediately, in the middle of, I wanna say the middle of nowhere, in the middle of somewhere, the sidewalk stops, or the bike lane stops, and now you don't have it, so why did you choose not?
Great question. So,
Cause they're gonna be there for future development, they're there already, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I only, did sidewalk on the north side of 33rd because of the two very
Well,
close.
I was thinking more down along the.
Okay,
on
I only did sidewalk on the east side of Riverside Golf Club Road, because that's closer to the convenience store. Also, I considered on the other side of the road, but as I got to where, the culvert extends out on that side, there is, we would either have to, transition from a 5-foot sidewalk to 3-foot for a short period and then back out to 5-foot, because there isn't enough extension of that culvert on the.
But you could fix that with this project, right?
I could have.
See, like if you want, there's a whole bunch of places where the city and the state have done sidewalk improvements on existing ones until they got to culvert, and then they said, oh, we're just gonna like give up here. I mean, I could tell you like 4 or 5. in
I
town.
didn't see the need for sidewalk in that particular section because, Riverside Golf Club, area, it's off in its own little corner. And really, that's the only thing that's interesting in that area. In between the golf course and the practice fields, there's nothing there to really access. And so, I saw that the main use would be probably on the side of the convenience store. That way, whoever goes to the convenience store then wants to continue going, they have the sidewalk on that
Yeah,
side.
I don't disagree that you put the sidewalks where they're most needed right now.
But why,
My question is, so you're gonna do a $2 million project here, and, you know, it might have been worth doing the improvements for the future, might be 20 years in the future, right? Because now, when they come back, and like if you look along, Knickerbocker now, I think that's a state highway there, they just put in a whole bunch of sidewalks until they get to the culverts, and then they just stop because they don't know how to deal with the culverts, because that's when, you know, putting in sidewalks one thing, extending the culverts a whole nother.
Right.
So, yeah, that's just a comment.
yeah, I didn't, I mean, and with the ADT being, not as big as other roads, I didn't see that there would be that much foot traffic. So one side of the roadway, just to keep it as ethical as possible, as far as, economics, and to keep our price as low as possible, I just chose one side of the road over the other. Which one was where I was wanting to connect people the most, and that was my reasoning.
It's a good point. I mean, right now the recreational fields are not being used. However, in the future, when they are and there is activity there, it would be a good idea that we should have considered to run it.
So just a comment about the reality of these public work projects. So, you know, you gotta gather up the state or the city has to gather up the funding to do these things, and that's a major project.
Right.
And that's like super valuable money. And it's really hard to get project money for a small project that might have a significant impact, but it's not a big project, so it's really hard to get it. So my experience from the public works side is, when you do these major improvements, you wanna improve as much as you can, given the available funding or the potential funding, because it's, like, nobody's ever gonna come back and extend that culvert 5 feet to put that sidewalk in later. If that's all they need to do, if, hey, we really wanna fix the sidewalk problem, they can say, well, that's a freaking $200,000 job, you know, for 5 feet of sidewalk, and they're not gonna do it, right? And when you've got a $2 million job, you know, if it's $2 million and another 50,000, you know, if it's 2,050,000, I mean, it's like nothing in the scope, right? So that's just a general comment about these public workshops.
So, like you say, if you can't, or you would extend it all the way now, but 5 years later, you're saying it'd be harder to get the funds after.
It's really
No
hard.
one's gonna go back and put,
Yeah.
I mean, look along Knickerbocker right now, right? I mean, in the last 5 years, they've done a whole bunch of sidewalks there, and they get to the culverts and they stop,
correct,
because they can't fix the culvert problem with the funding that they got for sidewalks,
correct.
right?
We are fixing that.
No, but, I see your point, I see your point. We did have a price goal in mind,
Yeah, and it's a balance, right? It's a balance. It's gonna cost
And we
more
had
money,
to-
right?
and we had to pick and choose where our priorities would be.
Yep, it's-
We had 3 months to do it, yeah, that's enough.
Well, yeah.
Well, I just,
But,
The sidewalk
this
was
is
also
why
something that was
it's-
No, I'm
added
just-
to the scope.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I see your.
you should think about, especially on the public works side, if it's a privately funded thing, they're only gonna pay for what they need right now, right? But on the public works side, it's really hard to get these funding, right? And so when you have the opportunity to do a significant project, it's, as best you can without wasting people's money, the public money, and all that kind of stuff to build for the future and put the
I
resources.
will make one comment.
Yeah.
One thing that is a pet peeve of mine is seeing places we put sidewalk or a curb ramp that goes nowhere and doesn't get utilized.
Yeah.
And I saw that, I picked the side of the roadway that I knew that I would.
I agree,
see
no, yeah,
attractive.
the rationale was perfectly
Right,
clear.
thank you.
The question is about, it's a
Should
good
we?
discussion.
Yes.
Should you invest more in there for the future or not?
Yes, because we do see, San Angelo is expanding, and especially probably the north side and also the east side of town. And so, but I just didn't see that with a rural road that's less than half a
I got
mile.
it, I got it.
Thank you.
Other question? So, this might be outside your scope, but I'm curious to know whether you looked at any crash data within your project size?
We did
and
not.
If there were any problems you could solve in your project?
We did not.
Okay. What about beyond the clients, City of San Angelo? Did you talk to any of the stakeholders, like the gas station,
Well,
to
that-
find out their perspective about?
Well, that's why I put in the remedial effects for the guy who's suffering that flooding issue by the South Culvert.
So at the beginning of the
Go ahead.
At the beginning of the project, we did talk to the auto body shop. He was telling us that he is having a lot of flooding issues inside his area. And, one of the things that he was saying is, I'm having to pay the city a major fine because since there's runoff or like water is going through in between his property and the storage unit, which is, he has metal there, so he's having contamination, so hence the fee. But however, after talking to him, we wanted to focus on providing him not a flood zone area on his area, on his property. So hence why we did the stone riprap to mitigate that, water flow all the way through
And then
to his
put it
place.
onto the storm drain and then carry it out.
I will add one more thing. So at our first site visit, not only did we meet with the engineering department, but we also had the head of Parks and Recreation. Carl White was out there. I know Carl. I kind of got the idea of what he sees, because with Parks and Recreation, not a lot of money flow gets put into that, sadly. And so, for them to, they're already behind, on the reconstruction of the sports complex. And so, but to kind of see what his needs were gonna be, then plus 2 weeks ago, I went out there again. Fortunately, I thought ahead and I called my buddy, Mario Lopez, who is now the director of the Parks Department. He met me out there. I kind of wanted to talk to him about what we planned on doing, and he did confirm some of the other things that were gonna be happening within the sports complex and beyond. Like, for instance, the bridge that will go over the river to Kirby, and he absolutely loved all the improvements that we were including, because he sees the need to connect the city of San Angelo, and unfortunately, North Side is treated like a redheaded stepchild. And we want to connect. We wanted to connect and give the city, give the North Side the opportunity, like, hey, we're thinking of you. We want you to be connected, and we want you to, so we did consult not just the business people around, but we did consult with local city officials about what they were really wanting for this area.
I've got a question for the red bearded stepchild. For your pavement structure, did you consider potential, almost like a field of dreams? You build it, they will come. Currently, there's a lot of industry with Mueller's and the steel company. They're not gonna put their trucks on a 20-foot wide alligator track road. But now that you made it wider, there's potential that those gates that say do not enter, they might start using that, cause now you have access to 87 to go north. Did you consider that in your pavement structure?
We did not. We do know that, lots of semi trucks do use the newly paved area, which is to the structure layers that we have, on the widening. At first, we thought the sports complex would work kind of like Bell Street, and I was told, no, it's gonna be more of a practice field. We're not looking at big turnouts on the weekends. This is not gonna be a tournament style location just for practice.
But that's just regular travel, I'm talking.
Correct.
Yeah, and I had the same question about your
Yeah.
truck percentage on your easels. So it's really the same question, you know, are you sure that 5%'s right? And in lieu of this comment, are you still sure it's right? And did you do any traffic studies? How did you come up with that 5% truck traffic?
So with the 5% truck traffic, I looked at other rural connector roads to determine whether, it's just about the same, and from the statewide planning map, I did notice that it was generally about 5%, but however, through that comment, I don't think that would actually be correct anymore, cause I was under, which was wrong on me, I was under the assumption that it won't be used anymore. So we won't need to take into account the semis that will be going through on the south end of Riverside Golf Club Road, just only on the north side for the gas station. So that will definitely be something I will keep in the back of my head for
That's a
future.
good consideration, yeah, we did
Yeah.
not, we just consulted with those that we knew were using the roadway, and so we didn't consider talking to FW, APCO, or Mueller.
There is truck traffic on that road anyway because of the entry and exit to the truck stop itself. So whether they use those entrances or not, that traffic's gonna be there.
Right, and the question is, are you designing properly for that?
We did not take into those.
What growth rates did you use?
Oh, what was that?
The growth rates, what did you use?
Growth rate, we used 10.95 is what we used for the, growth rate of 2%. And that was, again, with just looking at the statewide planning map and just looking at rural connector roads. So,
So I have a resiliency question. So we recently experienced a 1,000+ year flood, rain event here in San Angelo. And you have a culvert that is designed per code for the 50-year return period, right? So did you look at what happens if you get an extreme event, and not necessarily in that culvert functioning, but in terms of, where's the flow gonna go if you do get a 250-year event or a 500-year event? I mean, I'm not gonna ask you, so in terms of resiliency, did you look at what happens? Is the roadway gonna survive?
I can tell you the culvert will survive. So I kind of got bored one day and started messing around with the return periods.
Right.
And the culvert, as I have found, can withstand up to like 340-year return event. And I thought that was pretty crazy, but it won't meet standard because it's like the water's like pretty much at the top. It's
Yeah.
not a foot below.
No, when we're talking about resiliency, you're not talking about standard.
Yeah.
Because the resiliency is about you're not gonna design for a 1,000-year storm,
Yeah.
but is there something that you can do in your design, so if a 1,000-year storm comes, the recovery is simple, like, can you do over road flow in such a way that you're not gonna lose the road, for instance? That's what we're really talking about, resiliency. And this is a really small project, it's not in terms in the big scheme of things.
Right.
But, in your guys' future,
Yeah.
you're really gonna need, because it could be like a simple riprap treatment on the sides of the banking. It's not gonna cost you really much more, and total construction is going to, but I would encourage you to, not in your like, waste of time about messing around, but actually look at those much higher return period events and see how your system performs.
Correct.
Again, we're not designing for that normal operations, we just want, when that goes away, to have a roadway that's still there, and not, now we gotta rip up the whole roadway and, the culvert's under the loop, right? And now we gotta replace the entire culverts under the loop because of this event.
Let's move on.
I will say that at the 400 return period, that's when the water starts going onto the road.
Yeah.
You mentioned you met with the landowners out in the field. Did you meet with the two landowners that were gonna block their unpermitted driveways with the berm You get their thoughts
So
on that, man.
those, we, at our first, so at our first meeting, I have always known about those, and I asked the city, I said, were these just made because Parks and Rec use it because it's right off the roadway, like easy access? Are these authorized driveways at these two locations? And we were told no. And I know for a fact that when I worked for the city, and I worked in parks, right off of 29th Street onto Riverside Golf Club Road, taking that long one is the easiest route for the crews that will come in like mow. And it was just because we go down the path of least resistance. And so I did tell Mario what we were doing, and he chuckled and laughed, and he said, yeah, block it off, I don't care. Because it's really just, it's not used, and M plus, because of all that, there's really a hole there, and it's not, it really serves no purpose. And then the one closest to the fence line, that's just, if you're in the southern parking lot, through the years, the traveling public has just made their own path from there to get to 29th Street really quickly. So, they're not considered really paths that really help the businesses or even really anybody. It's just years of just using shortcuts that weren't authorized but not addressed.
Can y'all go back to your estimate real quick?
Oh, good, I was gonna ask a question about that. I understood the question.
But yeah, before I say that, I will just say, from a Lakeview graduate standpoint, I think the whole concept of what y'all are doing is really noble, so really great to see that. From two Lakeview graduates. I'm gonna speak.
I was gonna say ditto.
Yeah.
So, grew up on the north side of town. Quick question on the striping.
Yes.
I see that you've got a lot of type 2.
Yes.
Why not thermo?
Because I looked around at some of the previous city projects, and none of it looked like it was type 1. And just because it was a rural connector, it's not a high priority road, I felt like let's just try and keep the cost low wherever I can. And so that's why I stayed with type 2. I also didn't use the use of markers because, again, I just didn't see the need for it because it's not that high priority of a roadway. And so I believe, so I used all that except for, I think those prefab are probably gonna be like thermal, of course, but those are the only two.
And so that's something to look at. I mean, as far as the reflectors go, not using the RPMs, so that would be a deviation from the TxDOT standard that you're saying that you're using.
Okay.
But also with the type 2, you can put thermo on fresh mix with no sealer. So your thermo may not be, it may be equivalent of cost, maybe a little bit more, but at the end of the day, may be worth it from a resiliency standpoint.
Okay.
So my question about this is, you sure the cost is $1,197,313.21?
We're pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure it's $1.2 million.
Yes.
And so this is a comment, right? I was gonna be snarky and ask you if you're sure the line item 472-7388 had the right cost on it, but.
Go to that one.
Let's find out.
It's on a previous page.
For what?
432.
467, 7388, I think that's it.
Oh, that,
3,000.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
So the SCT,
And my point is,
Yes.
I think for this audience, you're not presenting this information in a way that's especially helpful, except for the.
I like it. I think it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Now, somebody may just made a liar out of me.
There was a lot of information here.
How to do this.
There is a lot of information here. to specifically point out items and how it's broken down.
Yeah. I just think it depends who your audience is, right? I think in this audience, you know, we want it rolled up at a much higher level, so. So I'd ask the practicing professionals here, 1.2 million, is that close?
Probably, your hot mix cost is a little light, I would say, but
The reason I always
It's
ask that
pretty
question,
close.
because usually in a project like this, where you mess up the cost isn't,
no,
because you,
not
I
the
mean,
cost, not the thing.
doing this, it's like missing some major
Correct. We,
item that you gotta do.
I
That's
know
why I
from
was asking if 1.2 is
experience
even
that
It's,
close.
I would say that,
Okay.
yeah.
I know from experience that our unit price for the hot mix would be way higher, just because it's a very small quantity. We have less than 1,000 tons. And so, but, how much contingency to add to the weighted average that we got, I didn't really know how to add to that, so we just played it safe, and we used the weighted average for Abilene, Brownwood, Odessa, and San Angelo.
Now, I'm confident you can do this part right. I just wonder it depends where you're on the planning stage, right? And it might be way more valuable for them to say, well, we did our quick cost was 1.2, but we got these other issues, and we think you need this contingency, I think you need a 20% contingency, and I would budget,
We did a
1.4.
contingency of 10%.
So, anyway,
So why dense graded instead of super paved?
Ooh, man, we're getting details now.
We're on this.
He has the benefit of working.
Again, I just went with what the SF1 recommended of 1 point. I really wanted to put in like 2 inches, because that's what I'm used to. 1.5 is kind of funny, but when I saw the standard, I was like, who am I without a stamp to say that 1.5 isn't adequate? So, I like whole numbers. But we did it with HMA, and we didn't wanna get too fancy with it to try, and it's like, let's just keep it with what is already on the north side, just continue.
If the city was paying for it, it'd have to be 2 inches.
Probably.
I can tell you that.
Okay, why, okay,
From the
tell
city
me,
guy.
And
why
that's
does the
rural.
standard say 1.5?
Those standards refer to rural roads, but a rural road does not exist within the city limits.
Okay.
However, the residential streets are specified at 1.5 inches, and so it's still accepted, but
Okay.
not on a CIP project.
Okay.
I will say that actually, I worked at the city when SKG and the Kent Quick went in and built that road. They did do a 2-inch.
Did they?
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if that's documented anywhere, but I know that
yeah.
they took the rural standard and bumped it up half an
Okay.
inch.
Is there one
We
last,
didn't really have like information on what actually went in, we just.
You
Is that
stand
a-
up.
We just went with what the SF1, and we just went off of those thicknesses.
is there like a one last question?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes,
So-
please, our city,
Our client,
yeah, our client.
So at some point on the hydrology slides, you mentioned a proposed berm. Do you have any dimensions for the proposed berm?
Yes, I didn't make a slide for it. I do have a quantity of just over 200 cubic yards at a height of, I believe I did 4 feet. With a 2-to-1 slope.
I have a last question.
That's a steep look. Okay.
Can each of you tell us what the most important takeaway you got from this whole project? What was the thing you learned the most about from this
Ladies
project?
first.
Thank you.
I guess the biggest takeaway is definitely learning how to work with others, because I've worked with John and Ty like throughout like the whole semester, and then so I was like, oh well, this will be perfect type of thing. But then I learned in Capstone, it kind of sort of was like, holy mackerel, wait, no, everything's a little bit different. And then so it definitely was like, expect the unexpected, number one, but also number two, definitely have a lot of backups, because we had so many technical difficulties. We have lost all of our stuff, or almost all of our stuff in Teams. We Also as well, lost some CAD drawings and all, yeah, twice, and all kinds of crazy
The
stuff.
team, the losing of the licenses, all that.
Yeah.
kind of
Oh
stuff.
yeah, we still need to figure out the licenses.
For myself, outside of the environmental and looking at the BMPs for that, the construction timeline and how to plan for each task, was an eye-opener for me. Is I don't feel like I did a great job on that, cause there's a lot of contacts that I should have contacted and said, hey, you know, can you give me information on how long this might take, or, you know, so, as I mentioned, or as I estimated 6 months, I'm not confident that, you know, it could be 9 months, it could be 10, so planning was a big part for me.
I guess, you know, working with like an interesting time constraint, trying to get this all done, you know, right before this day, meeting with Dr. Pignone, and every week, hopping on YouTube, trying to learn new software. That was definitely interesting and fun. And then, like I said before, when I got bored, I was messing around with numbers, seeing what happens, you know. So I thought that was all pretty interesting.
I would say for me, just going into it, knowing after the plans have already been drawn up and stamped, and I see something I'm holding and then building, the time and the energy that goes into making a set of plans.
Something so simple as just a small extension of a road. For,
Yeah,
a couple thousand feet.
it was,
We got the rest.
it definitely gave me more respect for the design division. And then plus, don't always trust your software, because
It'll betray you when you need a
you
boost.
could, the file you've been working on for weeks could get corrupted in a second.
That doesn't go away.
Huh?
That doesn't go away.
I know, and so,
If it really feels
but-
better, it only gets worse.
yeah.
Thanks for the vote.
But I would really say, I mean, I think my biggest takeaway is seeing where you would put people in these positions that they weren't super confident in, but then they took the bull by the horns and they came out in the end and they did it. So it was fun seeing people that I see as brothers and sisters, seeing them rise to the challenge of what they needed to do. So those were my big takeaways. Taking one, but I'm not. I don't think I could eat.
I
Come on,
know
kids, I know you
there's more discussion, you can have it while you enjoy the light refreshments, and congratulations again, and please turn this to me or Miss Olivia. Thank you so much, everybody.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank
It's
you.
been great to see how different people you are than you were 4 or 5 years
Sorry, excuse me, sorry.
I was actually, I was wondering about
Our drama was way better. I told you this is gonna happen.
Appreciate it. Hope to Dr. Paul.
It was so solid, it was so solid. That's been traditional.
Yeah. No, you hurry to get done. Office is falling apart.
But don't make it loud.
He's got the drainage done, right?
Thanks for coming.
I hadn't heard of it. Which is nice, man. A while back, and I was like, yeah. Man, they better work day and night. Yeah.